Well, nice to finally meet you, man. I know we've been kicking around the same playground for a while, and I've seen you out there for a while and doing all kinds of good shit. And I'm surprised we haven't really connected before now. So anyhow, thanks for coming on, man. Nice to see you.
No problem. No problem. What kind of scenario you want me to roll through with you to do this?
Well, the first thing we want to do is hit this bowl. So
testing 3.
Oh, you muted yourself somewhere in there. Or unplugged it. I don't know. I heard the first testes.
Yeah, accidentally. You know what? Yeah, I accidentally hit the mic button, the mute button.
I can do the intro with why Labpong is teaching us this, and then Labpong will show us the tools that we're going to need. Right? You have the tools there as well,
Yep.
Labpong.
Yep. I'm just gonna get masking tape real quick. Yep.
And that can lead us into Jerry's coil options. So Jerry has multi coils that he's going to show and then probably ask you which one is going to work best. Yeah. Hopefully you say all will work, but one of them is better than the others. And then you can lead us into the project. This sound cool?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I'm gonna build your AC/DC elevator, Labpong. I guess we should do some intros here real quick. Jerry, meet Labpong. Labpong, I'm usually in the corner. Get the fuck down. Labpong, this is Jerry. Welcome to the Troy and Jerry segment.
What's happening, buddy? Thanks for coming.
Nice to be here, guys. Appreciate this. This is awesome.
Pong, in the 420 Vape Zone Discord and in the community, I've seen you help probably a half dozen members build this device. I've never bent one of these coils, and I've seen people do it on the internet. I know people have done it on Fuck Combustion and on Vape Life forums and on Reddit. People have been bending these coils and making custom shit for years, but I've never done it. So I want you to teach us how to bend our coils and make this DC elevator. What do we need?
We need a coil, and the coil that you're going to need to fit on the elevator is basically a 15.8, which you can get from Aubert, like I have, or the mainstay size is a 16 millimeter, which you can get from several companies.
Which kind of coil?
So these coils are these are looped coils.
So like these?
Doesn't matter which way it spirals, just like that. They're all closed like yours when you get them. So that's what we basically need to do is just kind of pry this guy open a little bit gently and get it to fit around so we disperse the heating area a little bit better. There's a few things different about some of these coils. Like this coil right here, I got it, way back when it was first started to be a thing to put a coil on the elevator. So the thing that's different about this guy is it doesn't have a lot of wraps. It's probably a wrap and a half less than most like your disorderly conduction coils or whatever other one you have. So that will be advantaged if you have the newer coils. You have a bigger part of the coil that's heating up and more room to spread the heat out. So it's better.
Bigger is better. I got a pretty big.
Bigger is better. Yeah.
I got a big axial coil here.
So that coil would be an issue.
Oh fuck! Why?
Because that coil has a bottom coil. So we want just one hollow cylinder coil type.
Oh, no. Okay.
So the piece with the bottom on it, where's that going to go?
It's still coil. I was just going to unwrap and ravel the whole thing.
Okay. You might get to a certain point and it's not going to work because it's a little too much bending. And the heating calorie, the little element in here, is usually the main part of it's in probably 70% of this coil. It's not all the way in the end, and it's not all the way up here. So it kind of starts in a certain area. So if you start to unwind that one, you're going to break that inner piece in there.
Okay.
You can't really manipulate and bend it that far. I mean, you can try right now, but you're going to kind of have a mess. 9 out of 10, you're going to probably break that thing to try to make it fit. But if it's a coil that you don't care about right now, go for it maybe.
Well, it is a coil that I don't care about, and it's also the only coil I have to spare. But Jerry, what coils do you have? Maybe we need to.
Well, I've got that same one, which I won't use, obviously. And then I have I have 3 coils this shape. I have a 10 millimeter that's way too small.
Yeah, that won't work. That's too much.
I have a 16 millimeter that it just barely does something to, and then I have a 20 that has a little gap in it.
Yep, we want the 16. That's the guy.
Now I don't have a flat coil to spare, but we don't want that anyhow. Is that right?
No, you do not want anything but basically that cylinder.
Okay, cool.
We don't want a top or bottom at all. So no banger coils, really. Bottom.
Okay. So banger coils are a no-go.
Nope.
I won't waste it then.
Because I really want to caution people when you do this. Like, you got to be careful because some of these coils might be a little feeble. There's a tolerance in the manufacturing for maybe something to be a little off, not built perfectly. So as you stretch this thing out, you could be breaking that inner heating element off.
Would you know, or is it breaking?
You'll know right away when you turn it on and it won't heat up.
Okay, but you wouldn't know from making it.
So
it would just let you keep making it even though it's broken. You wouldn't know it till you turned it on.
You won't hear it click or nothing like that.
Okay.
So if you don't have a coil to spare, or you don't have a coil that works, you can pick up one, or if you're too scared to bend your coil, you can pick up one directly from 7th floor, from Elevate Premier, or from V Goodies for like less than $200. So anyway, Jerry's gonna bend his. I'll find a coil somewhere else.
Right. So to do this job, you're gonna basically need 2 basic tools. And that's basically 2 pliers. You can have a standard set, electrician type smaller ones. Use a needle nose plier, a regular size one. I've happened to have these really nice small ones that are good for working on things that have no teeth on them, so they're flat already. So what we want to do,
mine, I got these wire bending pliers that are.
Those will work. Is there a flat spot on them? Oh, they're all round.
These are round.
Okay, those can help. What we're going to do basically is to protect the coil from getting scratched. Just take a little bit of masking tape and stick that just enough to cover each side.
Oh, so you're putting it on one side.
So what I'm doing is I'm covering up all the gnarly teeth.
Okay, so I'll do that on both
go to
sides.
grab and stuff. We're not like scratching and denting.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm glad you thought of that.
That way it doesn't fuck up the coil.
Yeah, the one other tool that I got to grab is my large screwdriver. If you have a large flat screwdriver, like the biggest one that you can find, that's super helpful.
I got one, but it's not going to be like impressively big. It's just
okay.
It's just a screwdriver.
Even
I don't like where that whole comment went. I can see Troy having a great time with that one.
Yep.
Yeah, you just need one layer on there. Don't need a lot.
Oh no, dude! I'm going to town. Listen, we're gonna pillow puff these fuckers.
No scratches. Don't drop the resale.
That's right. Doing that. This is fun. I've actually wanted to do this for a while, and just didn't take the time and didn't have the stuff. And really appreciate you taking the time to show me how. This is gonna be killer. I'm stoked. Everybody's asked me about this fucking thing, so it's like I got to figure this out. So
yeah, I can understand how people would be very tentative about taking a coil and stretching it out to fit this piece of glass, and they're already kind of cautious about the fact that it's a piece of glass and they don't want to break it.
Yeah, I sure as hell was. So that makes a lot of sense. All right, so my pliers are taped.
If you got your screwdriver, that's kind of the first place we're gonna start.
Okay.
And I've got a bigger screwdriver. I forgot to grab it. I'm just gonna simulate it with a dab tool. My bigger one, but these little guys too. Everybody's got these like little glasses, repair kit kind of deals. Like if you get a little straight head, one of these guys. This works great. What we're gonna do first of all is basically pry some of these coils away from each other just a little bit. Okay. We're just gonna separate a couple layers of the coil. And we're gonna start.
Is it easier to start in a certain place, or does it?
You can basically let's start in the middle.
The smaller screwdriver is that big?
That one's a little big. If you think you can, get one in between there to just start it a little bit.
Jerry thought he was going to be too small. Turns out he's too big.
Man, that's what she said. All right, so I got my little one here.
There you go. So you can start like from the bottom like about here in this area.
I can't see you right now, so hang on.
Okay, like just like one loop up off the very bottom where they first kind of come together, and just kind of separate them a little bit, just so you can start to get that bigger one in there, or that one's going to do most of the work.
All right.
It's going to be a real gentle one. Right now, we're just kind of barely getting it open there, a few millimeters, just to, maybe 2 millimeters or something to get that screwdriver, the bigger one, drive it in there.
Let's see if I can get you
There you go.
a better view of what I'm up to here.
Perfect.
So I'm kind of right about here. I'm just kind of twisting it a little bit.
Yep. Just get it in there a little bit. Just kind of slowly work it up the coil a little bit.
Okay. Like that a little bit?
Yep.
Now, is the goal to get the big screwdriver in there? Is that the whole point?
That is the goal. So once you get an area built up, halfway around the loop or something, you're pretty good to go, and we can use the bigger one. But like I said, just kind of work it a little bit, just enough so we can start that bigger one in there.
Okay, it's starting to get used to it.
There you go. That looks pretty close, yeah. All right, so now here's the trick to doing this. I'm going to use my super big spatula. When we get this guy in there, I'm going to pull back up so the focus is. So what we want to really do is we can rock it a little bit this way, but mainly we want to twist it.
Okay.
So we're going to get it and just twist it a little bit and just and then just work your way up, turn it around and work your way up slowly.
Oh, so I'm just going to keep going around.
And this is where you could put some tape on the screwdriver. It's actually, the screwdrivers aren't as bad, just when you first start prying them in there.
Dude, now that I've finally got it going, it's that first bend, the separation that's hard. And then after that, it kind of does it.
And you can move above it or other areas if you can get it in there right now.
I got mine expanded. I decided to bend it anyway.
Okay. You know what? How big of a coil is that? That thing's huge, dude.
It was 30 millimeter.
Oh, geez. 30. All right, we'll get to the point of shaping that right after Jerry gets done with this part for a few minutes. There you go. And just to kind of stop you right now, Jerry, what you don't want to do is go too wide here. So that amount that you have right now that I can see between those two,
right here,
we don't want to go any wider than that. That's good enough right now.
Okay,
It
cool.
might be very close, actually.
At this point, I'm just going to put one more gap in here.
I usually go about 3 or 4 millimeters maybe between the two coils.
How's that look?
There you go. Yep. And you can work it open a little bit more. So it's kind of even all the way around the same space as best as you can do it.
Gotcha. Right on.
Yeah. Because with any coil, they're usually tight together. You want to keep the heating mass as even as possible. So as we stretch this thing out, you don't want to create a hot spot in a certain area of it because we want it to disperse all over the heat. So yeah, you're getting close. See, this part's not really that hard. If people kind of understood, this is kind of most of it.
How's that?
So you're getting very close. So now what you can do is take your heater and just go ahead and now does it, since we kind of manipulated it a little bit, it might be a touch wider or narrower or something because we probably move those coils just a touch. And then some people can go both ways. I prefer to go that way, kind of keeping the mass lower.
How touchy do we want it to be? Like if I can gently wiggle it, is that good?
Yeah, if you could kind of corkscrew it a little bit, real gentle back and forth, you might find that the air opening on the top is kind of it sticks out farther, so you can kind of find a point where that will be the tightest point to get the coil around.
Well, how far up do I want the coil to go? Like
here's my setup. So
you're all the way.
I've pretty much got it down, and in fact, what I do when I get it down there, like I try not to lay the coil on that sit clip because that'll get hot. If you left it down there for several minutes, you go to pull it off, you're like, well, we'll get around that problem too in a minute.
Okay.
So at this point, we just want it to kind of come down there. And there's one trick I did, and I found this out honestly by mistake. So when I fit my coil the first time, I got it to fit pretty close. I turned it on. with it on there. I let it heat up. Got it to work. 20, 30 minutes later, I'm like, okay, that's a good enough test. I want to do something. Turn the coil off. And I grab, at the time I was using tongs to hang onto this thing if I pulled it off, took the clip off. So I could easily hold it. And then I went to go and get it off, and it's not going to come off. When it gets hot, a lot of times it constricts back on. So you want to get it a little bit looser than you think, because when you heat it up, it's going to actually get a touch smaller.
All right. Check me out, Troy. I think I got it here, buddy. Is that about how I want it?
Okay. Here's a little trick. That's not bad. So here's a little thing I learned right away. And like I say, it was kind of by mistake. The way I got mine to fit on, I actually use that outcropping of the inlet hole on the top because it's widest at that point of the heater usually. And I made my heater, like if you look down the coil, so each coil is not perfectly a cylinder. So as I bent it, some of the coils move this way, some move that way. So I use that to my advantage. And so that way we want to try to make as many contact points or get that thing as close to the glass as possible so we don't waste our energy. So I found that when I bent the thing all up and I got it close, sometimes it's too far open. I got to squeeze it back. And I kind of manipulated it several times. Luckily I didn't break it. Because I pushed it beyond probably where you should. But so because those things are oblong now, I actually made it grab the heater on my Boro one. Get the right one out here. So when I put mine on, it actually won't go on any direction. It actually has to go on like the 30, 40 degrees, and I can kind of rotate it on. So it actually grabs it in a certain spot because my coils are a little oblong. So it grabs that little edge there. This is what I use. It's a dangerous thing. So when you're using it and it's on there, this is what I use to quick pull it off, set this on my little thing on the side, and then go ahead and stir my bowl, set it back on. It might be hard to get your coil to do that
That's how mine feels
fit
right
that
now.
perfectly. You might have to manipulate it a few times and just play with it as you let it heat up and cool down, so you'll kind of get it.
But that's your preferred?
And that's a very dangerous thing. I don't like to tell people to do that, but mine just worked that way. I can do it. The best thing I found, if you don't use the big tongs to grab this guy, is I actually made a little oven mitt. So I took some suede material and I just lapped it over on itself and glued it together. And then so when I'm using mine, I've got my sit clip on it like this. I pull this off really gently so I don't flop that hot thing on something. I just grab it and I put it on my stand really quick. So I'm not really hanging on to it very long, and I don't even feel the heat with this little bit of suede that I've got. I was pretty happy that that's all I had to use. I was really happy, actually. So I would suggest, though, if you make something like this out of leather or suede or something like that, make it much bigger than I did, like really big, like bigger than what you're grabbing big, just in case you slip or something. You just got that much of a buffer not to burn yourself. So that's kind of how I suggest if you can make something like this. Otherwise, there's like the hot dog tongs, the ones that spring loaded, so it grabs it. I use that for a while, but I kind of it's metal, so one time it kind of slipped when I didn't have it on there all the way. So I thought, okay, I want to be 100% safe.
Mine's perfect like your other one, dude. Like it doesn't come out in any pull.
Okay, let's see what happens when we turn this thing on and it heats up.
Okay, but for the most part, I'm ready.
Right now, that looks very close, Jerry. That actually does. And like the only thing I would tell you to do is you might be able to spread the coils a little bit, but I think it's going to work really good just like this. I'm going to say go with this. Let's try it.
All right. What were the pliers for?
Because if it didn't fit good like this, or it was too loose, what we would do is we would go in there and I would grab...
Want to switch back to him?
Yep, trying.
I love you, Troy.
All right, so what I would do is I would use my normal pliers, and I'm going to grab kind of a flat part of it down low, real low like this. And then I'm going to take each coil, an area of it, each loop, and kind of take it like this and kind of bend it. So I bend this coil, this top loop this way. The next one, I'm going to bend it this way. So what I'm going to actually do is offset each ring a little bit, so it grabs at a certain point.
Oh, okay.
So again, that helps sometimes too. I haven't experimented a lot because I haven't bent too many of these coils, just a few. Like I want to make one where I get as many contact points on the glass as I can when it's heated up. The thing with that, if you do that, it's most likely going to be stuck on there. It's going to be so tight that by the time that you turn it on, heat it up, it's going to grab it, which is fine because at that point, the thing's kind of locked on there when it's hot, and it's very safe, and you can manipulate it, set it down a little bit better. You don't have these separate hot parts. They're together as one. So that's not a bad thing if you do get it too tight.
All right, cool.
Ready to go back to you?
Be advised that the hard part about that when you do that is when you do cool it off and it's still kind of jammed down there and you want it off, you got to be very careful. and then that was the point where I was actually trying to physically grab the coil and open it up with my fingers, one pressing one way, one the other way. So I spring the coil open and then let the thing fall out onto a rubber mat. That's how far you might have to go if it gets stuck.
Okay.
Wow.
But the way Jerry actually just spread that, I think it might be perfect, honestly.
What do you use for a stand or anything?
That was another thing I got. I was lucky enough to get a few of these from Vape Critic with G's, and I kind of like these bigger round-based ones. I've got some, like this one's from Tag, and it's a really thick, heavy piece, and it's got a solid bottom.
Oh, 18 or 14 or what?
And these are both 18s. I got a little 14 adapter in this guy.
Where'd the little one come from?
So these are from Tag.
Okay.
So thick ass glass, excuse me. So I got these a few years ago before they had some issue and they lost a lot of their stock, and they kind of came back last year, and I haven't looked to see if these are back in stock. But it's kind of cool. It's a nice little solid piece. It's fairly heavy. It's not like the cheaper Chinese ones where you see where it's a hollow base. Kind of like this style, but smaller.
Looks nice.
I suggest something like this. And I actually made another piece. Like I took one of those cheaper Chinese ones like this, and I took 2 blocks of wood and I just put some big holes and encased it, epoxied it in there, grinded the wood piece off. And so I have one of these encased in a piece of wood. And I use that.
Shoot, I might actually have a use for this herborizer thing that I've never used.
Yeah, and you know what? The herborizer stand, like
no thanks.
Not that one. Yeah, I would never suggest that. Like if you have maybe their nicer one that the Sherlock thing is on, that metal stand they got.
Oh yeah, I got lots of those.
That might possibly, there you go, Troy. Yeah, something like that would probably be a little bit better.
But by the way, I solved the herborizer sticking in the stand problem.
Oh, did you? A little sand in there?
I put a Dynavap cap inside there.
Oh, so you wouldn't let it come down as far. There you go.
So now it doesn't go down far enough to actually stick.
What'd you put in? I think somebody put a dosing capsule or something, but you put
I put a Dynavap cap. Look.
Oh, cool. So it just kind of, and it never quite goes all the way in, does it?
Yeah. Well, I had to wedge the digger outer down in there a little bit.
I see what you did. Yeah.
To set the spacing right. But yeah.
It's fucking dope. I dig it.
Now it doesn't stick. Cheers.
All right. So that's my new elevator stand.
There you go.
That's actually perfect.
Yeah.
It's fucking perfect. Ain't going anywhere. All right. So let's turn this bad boy on and see what happens. I got to see if I can get this thing to turn on. I never remember how to use this thing because it's got enough.
Let's talk temperatures here. So every PID might be a little bit different, whatever, 5, 10, 15 degrees maybe. So I usually, to get mine to work well, I'm doing a burn off.
This is already smoking. Yeah. Okay, good. So
it'll do that a little bit.
All right.
Mine's doing it because it's actually probably got dust on it. It hasn't been used in a while, this particular one. So the temperatures now, in Fahrenheit, I'm somewhere right around the 600 to maybe a 630 with mine. And I'm using an Auber 300 for my PID.
All right.
With their 15.8 coil, which, because it's a little bit less of a heating element than what you're using there, Jerry, you should probably get at least as good or maybe better results at my temperature that I'm using if they're close in temperature.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to see what this did. Should it get tighter now?
Typically mine always did.
Okay.
That one may not. It could be the metal that they make that coil, the outer section, where it might be stiffer than the one I have. Mine was pretty pliable, actually. I was kind of glad that it didn't break.
But I just want the metal coil down in this bottom half. We don't want it up in here.
Are you gonna yeah, so like what you can do like right now, do you have a bowl loaded? In fact, that's my next question. Are you using the stock elevator old school?
I can. I've got it right here.
I recommend that. It's my favorite bowl. I use it for several
Sweet.
vapes, injector style. And it works really well. So go ahead and let's load that thing up.
And this is 600 based on a totally different coil. So
I'm gonna, yeah,
it's not accurate, but we'll go with it for now.
I tell you what, I'm gonna set mine. I'm going up to like.
Oh, this is 14.
I might even go up much higher than that. Let me see. I'm gonna try mine right away at about 650. I might have gone up to 680. I can't remember what my range is. And that's mostly because most of the last many times I've used my elevator, I've been using it with the torch.
Oh, right on.
I enjoy quickly using it for 2 or 3 big bangers, and I'm done.
I guess that's what I'll be doing on Friday. I'll be doing the torch technique, and Jerry can cover the
Coil. There you
the
go.
coiled version.
There you go. Great.
Oh well.
Yeah, because there's a few little things in there that I can talk about as far as heating it up with a torch for sure.
I tried bending my axial coil around it, but it's just way too much material. I think, man. Like
it's too big. It's
by the
too
time
much material.
I'll have to tighten it so much.
Yeah, that's the
Just
problem.
to-
And
just to
you
get it
might
to wrap around
break.
there.
You might break the heating element inside.
Like there's just so much. Like it'll be wrapped around itself. By the time I'm done.
And I like to fill my elevator bowl. Somebody told me when I first started vaping, and I was disappointed on a few little things about it, switching from combusting. You got to waste to taste. And I was like, really? Really? I can't just do this little amount that I would normally do in a bowl, you know? And well, you can, but see what happens when you use double or triple that amount. And for sure, I'm like, yeah, there's a lot of taste there.
Yeah, man.
So
better.
typically what I like to do is I like to load my bowl up till it's just below the frosted line. I don't ever really go above that.
Sweet.
If it's almost up there, and that's probably like maybe a 0.3, I'm guessing. You know, it's not going to be shy amount. It's going to be a decent amount. Maybe
Sounds
twice
about
as much as you're used to in some other vapes.
True. Although it sounds pretty down my alley in terms of herborizer usage. I like to load a big bowl in the herborizer and lower the temp. Troy and I were talking about how we're a little different with it. So I'll probably hit this like you, and when Troy gets his going, he'll probably a little smaller, faster, hotter kind of thing.
Got ya.
When I had the version that I had, it was quartz, by the way. I had to run it to the point where the coil on the outside was basically glowing for it to hit the way that I wanted it to hit. But at that time, I was hitting on the SSV43 aggressively.
Oh,
You know, 2 or 3 bowls a day, or 2 or 3 bowls per sesh. You know, like they sit down to vape a bowl, vape 3 bowls on the SSV43. So, and the coiled elevator couldn't even tickle my fancy. You know, I basically had to crank it up just to make it deliver. Now I'm tamed it down. I've gotten back to reality. I've stopped taking mushrooms and acid every day. Just kidding. Wasn't doing that every day. So now I'm satisfied by the herborizer. So now I think, you know, this thing could really be another treat for me.
great.
All right. Let's see if the thing at 600 gets it where it needed to go.
You're scared shitless of that thing falling out, aren't you?
I'll get used to it, but yeah, the first grab's a little iffy. You know what I mean? Like, 'cause, I mean, I don't know.
One thing you can do, Jerry, is when you go, do you put the thing on and off, whatever position it's in? I'm going to kind of freehand this here. I always like to go when I go from my stand over to the vape, I pull it off and I immediately turn it like this, so it's not going to fall out of there.
Smart.
Get it right up to the edge and then flip it right on there.
Right on.
And please, people, especially use that sit clip. All right. You do not, if it sits on there, you only have like barely a ½ inch, probably less, 3/8 of an inch.
So I should clip it right now?
I would clip it to be safe. because that's a pretty big lever arm on that little joint. There's not a lot of depth to it. The connection point.
Do you stir after every hit then, or what do you do?
I do. Honestly, I do, because I want as much taste out of every bowl that I can get. So I don't mind stirring. I don't care what it is. I stir Dynavaps.
Because this doesn't look like a fun thing to do very often.
No,
put this fucking clip on. It's goddamn hot right there. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like I'm going to burn myself just putting it on.
This is why I'm just trying to think if you could grab something like thicker than napkins, even like an oven mitt or something, little piece of.
Yeah, I ain't doing that. No, I will burn myself doing that. That's for sure.
Okay.
I'll hold on to it and take my chances. Yeah, we'll go with that.
Yeah, just be.
And hopefully, hopefully I don't burn the place down on this video by saying "fuck you" and your sick clip, man.
There don't need no sick clip. Those were wussies. Come on.
Yeah, man. All right, let's see if this temp's it.
And typically, I like to let mine heat soak when I do this before I start out for almost 10 minutes.
Oh, I haven't gone that long, but I've got some nice taste in real life vapor. So yeah, I either need more of a heat soak, or I'll probably have to turn it up. Yeah, because I haven't calibrated anything here.
I almost want to tell you to just go up to 650 to see what happens.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's a good idea. Fuck. There we go, 650.
Yeah, so just by looking at your coil right now, the way the glass is behaving, you could probably get it a little bit tighter. Just a little bit. So you can work on that later. And
I want that so that I can increase the heat transfer, right?
It'll do that, and you'll have more confidence of not to burn yourself. Because it's going to be in there a little more solid, right?
That's a good thing, right?
Yeah. Yep.
When we're vaping all that, I assume he'll be back. All right, so let's see here. Let's go at this again. Oh, yeah. It started to come up.
I can tell you can get it a little bit tighter, and the fact that it didn't get much tighter when you got it hot tells me that coil's pretty strong metal compared to what I'm using, so it didn't constrict as much. So
you would recommend I calibrate and get it tighter?
Yeah, I would say go ahead and get it a little bit tighter. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And again, the way you can do that is not to just get all the wraps tighter or something, is to try to take those pliers and make one of those rings, oblong the rings from each other.
Okay. What about, why wouldn't I stretch it out over further?
You can, but here's, you get to a point, and I kind of stretch mine about as far as I want. It starts to become less effective by moving the elements farther from each other, and they're constantly kind of trying to, reheat. So
is that right? Okay.
A little bit too much, and they're up, down, up, down, up, down too much once you start spreading it, and you lose a lot of efficiency. So, I mean, we are right away losing efficiency as we move these things apart. So we just need to go a little bit.
Okay.
So what's going on? Are you going to tighten yours, or do you have to let it cool down now?
So he just has to be very careful right now. He's very close. He can get it tighter, but he just upped his temp, so he wants to just kind of see where he is on that.
Yeah, for now I'm just upping the temp, trying to find the sweet spot.
Okay.
And then after I've done that, I will probably let it cool down, try to make it a little tighter, put it back together. Then I'll actually take the time to calibrate it with this thing like I talked about and figure it. But right now I'm just going raw wattage mode, so to speak, on a box mod and just finding where it gets. You know what I mean?
Got you. Yeah, you've got a little adjusting to do with that as well. Yeah, so again, basically, give it a good 10-minute heat soak when you're doing this.
Oh, that's right, because I didn't give it a heat soak either. I'm just jacking up the temp.
Yeah, you kind of went at it probably at about 4 or 5 minute mark, maybe. It seems like
I'm going to drop it down to 670.
666. Come on, you're four away from it. You got to go for it.
And I'm going to take it off the bowl. Oh, Jesus, look at that.
Oh.
Remember, take the bowl. See if you can spin it out.
Your hand on the bowl too, man. Don't let that bowl go flying.
Yeah.
I can do what now?
Control the bowl. Go ahead and try to spin it out if you're trying to get the coil off. Is that what you're trying to do right now, Jer?
Yeah, perfect. There you go. Nice.
Yeah, just give it a little spin.
Yep. Thank you, sir. Nicely done. Yeah. Okay, so a little tighter coil. I think I definitely need a tighter coil because that's downright dangerous right there for somebody like me. I actually
thought it was going to be a little bit tighter, so It looked like I don't even think it actually got tighter at all when you heated it up.
Yeah.
No, it feels looser actually.
Okay.
Which is weird.
Which technically, you kind of want it because when it heats up, it expands, right? But because it's made in a coil shape, when it expands in different directions. So right now, yeah, I mean, I can tell you're getting a little bit of uneasiness, like this is kind of a hot, dangerous little thing, and it's like kind of sketchy. But once that heater gets fitted to that coil decently, you'll lose like almost all of that issue and worry about that part of it. And as well as having a nice stand, like one thing I would do if I had a stand the size that you're using right there, it almost looks like it would be the size. And I thought about it with this guy, this bigger one. I have one downstairs. Are those? I guess they're like, it was a woman's set somebody gave me. I don't know how I got it, but those little wrist weights, they're just like a padded ring.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I got one. I know it'll fit around this thing. It'll fit right on this thing perfectly and be a great weight to help hold that thing down. Just be something like that, just to make a heavy base. You know what I'm saying?
What about how you've got your handle kind of at a downward angle? Why did you do that?
Yeah. Originally this thing came and it had a big angle in it. So it was actually, I took a lot of it out actually. It used to come down not quite a full right angle. It was.
Oh, no shit. It wasn't straight out like mine.
So yeah, so I didn't like that. And I just kind of bent it up a little bit. And I figured I don't want to bend it straight because I might crack the thing inside. And I don't want to do that with this coil. I want it to work. So I felt I already manipulated it more than enough. I didn't want to screw it up. So some people actually, I've seen that because some people that have this auber coil, they use it the other way where it would tip up.
Okay, so it doesn't matter. It's just preference.
So it doesn't matter, but I just kind of prefer it like this because it kind of keeps the weight down low a little bit. Better balance, I
can see that. Yeah, mine kind of makes it want to.
Because what happens is like this part of my cord down here ends up resting on my desk.
I like that. And so there's no real danger to me bending it down a little, just as long as I'm careful.
Those, if you wanted, I'm not, I would go real slow when I do that and do it after it's still slightly warm, after it's cool, turn it off. Maybe just go a little bit. I'd be kind of careful though of bending the flat spot of these things.
Okay.
Because I'm not too familiar with how some of these are made and so forth.
So when I take this off to tighten the coil, I'm going to do it by trying to take these things and kind of make them a little off angle a little.
Yeah, I kind of grab like one coil like this and then up another, like the next layer up, I'll grab it another spot and just kind of go like this with them, kind of twist it open a little bit, and then work on the bottom two below that. And usually that's enough. You bent yours pretty easily. It won't take too much.
Cool. So if the spiral is vertical, are you grabbing from two spots on the sides or from the above?
Straight down, top and bottom.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Because
so you're opening or closing this. Okay.
Yeah, you're basically what you're doing is you're taking this loop right here, up here, and this loop, and you're offsetting them this way or whatever way. So the one below that, now you're offset it a little bit more. So it won't take much offset to lock that thing on because it's already pretty close.
Have you done the balls with this?
I did. I've done that a couple times, and when you do that, you got to put two screens or something to, like, I shoved a little screen through the hole and took two little picks and worked it and flattened it out and did that. And, I had it about maybe 3/4 full, not over that, because I knew there was a point at which it would be too much. So, and I think you could probably just do half of it maybe after I've experimented with it, but I didn't like the restriction. I liked it would give you a lot of heat real quick from, building it up and holding it. But I just missed that free flow because I want a quick hit with little stress on my lungs to get that hit.
Right on.
I've been doing this for about 40 years and taking this into my lungs, and I need all the help I can get at this point.
Right on, man, because we're not slowing down, bro.
No, that's kind of the funny thing. I had, like a 10-year break or something about 8-10 years ago. So, well, no, maybe more than that. So I'm like 2 years into combustion after taking this break, and then I started vaping in 2017. just hardcore stop one, right to the other, no looking back. So I've been doing it since June of 2017.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, that kicks it out.
I really like the elevator for dabs when I first started torching it. I actually that's probably why I never fully embraced it for dry herb, because I for one, I hate mixing the two. So like when my shit is set up for concentrates,
Yep.
it's concentrates, and then for the elevator to use it in for dry herb, what I was doing is I was using dry herb in the handpiece and the wand, and never on a bong. And the heating techniques for concentrates versus dry herb in the elevator are completely different.
Very different.
So I was combusting very frequently in my dry herb attempts, and I rarely found it worth it. So that'll be a fun thing to revisit this week for the elevator episode, Jerry.
Yeah, because are you gonna make yours, or are you gonna go all torch this week?
I'm just gonna go torch. So
Okay.
I think we can.
Good.
We can probably. Yeah, we can still do our show plan.
Oh yeah,
Elevator.
that'll be fun, man. I like it. That'll make it even better, quite frankly.
Yeah, because the product is initially designed for torching.
Yep.
Yep, that's the way it was made, for sure. Well, I can show you a couple things really quick. As far as torching goes, a couple techniques that I use
Hell yeah.
helped me so I didn't combust.
Perfect.
I always do this with it connected to my rig. And that's how I started. And because of the shape of my rig, I've got this thing to where it's a little bit higher than the main part of it. So if you got a long tube or something, it's below it. It might not be as easy to do. So I actually heat it up slowly, and I actually turn my rig on the tabletop around slowly as I slowly heat it up and down. And I make a circle 3 times around it. Is how I heat it.
And you blow a trumpet after each time around?
Oh yeah. A lot of people too didn't know how close do I put the flame to the. I actually have the little. Let me get this down a little bit. The blue tip, the main blue tip, just barely kissing the surface, so you can hear it making a noise.
How do you know when you're done though? Like, I mean, is it looking for a certain color or what?
Here's my technique. I'll explain that here at the end. So what I do, I've got this the Big Buddy turbo, I think it's called, smaller than the bigger one, and I have this on low. You don't need it to be that high. So I'm just going at it, and I can do 2 things to turn this. I can go like this around it, or I can just take it in my hand like this and go like this. I find it much easier to leave it in the rig.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just going to go around it, and it's a pace like this. So I'm going up and down, and I stop for a second in the holes, the pinch holes.
Nice.
Heat those up a second. Those will carry some heat and hold. So I basically break it down into quarters because each side has a hole in it. So all in all, when I get done with my process here and I spin it around, it's going to be about 45 seconds, somewhere close to that point.
Okay.
Now, I have the Boro. So the Boro, you might be able to take 5-10 seconds off that.
I have the Boro as well.
So it'll go a little quicker. I try not to shoot it into the intake just because I'm kind of anal about that. I don't like sucking butane, even though it'll disperse. So once I get it, I'm probably really close right now. And usually I know, like, I'm not afraid to go longer. If it's red, you went way too long. I take the back of my hand and I put it about this far from it. And I can feel a certain amount of heat emanating from it, and I just know that feel. I know how hot it is when I get it that close. That one was probably a little light, but I also don't have a lot in there.
Mine's getting heavy now. Oh, we're getting that backup echo again. Labpong, can you? Yeah.
It's really tasty. Wow. Glorious. Fucking awesome. Well, Jerry?
Yeah, man.
You got your shit working? I got my shit working. I don't have a coil yet, but I'm gonna go out and get a coil eventually.
Cool. We'll work on that. We'll get that wired.
But I appreciate you spending the night with us, Pong, and getting us educated on the art of coiling the elevator and torching too.
And
real,
torching
bro,
as well.
appreciate it.
Yes, it's both ways. I enjoy both ways actually. Either or works for me.
Well, Pong, I appreciate you spending the time with us again and all the help and knowledge. Appreciate all you do for the community as well.
Thank you.
Totally,
I enjoy
bro.
being there.
Appreciate you,
Been
man.
there. Discord 420 Vape Zone, the place to be.
Right on, man. Awesome. Get out there.
Thank you.